Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we have a guest tonight on Neeves Knives Live. Hope everybody's doing well. We're just going to bring them right in. We have Bob Demarco from the Knife Junkie podcast. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
You know what's funny is that when I came on your podcast, I said your name a lot. Like, hey, Bob. What's up, Bob? Oh, that's okay, Bob. And people called me out for it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I
It's a
thought it was
fun name to
hilarious.
say.
Everybody said like if I had you on, I'd have to say your name 1,000 times.
Well,
So
you know what I tell people? Like, there aren't too many people of my generation, certainly not of yours, who go by Bob. They usually go by Rob. What's up, man?
there you go. Yeah. So I'm sure everybody knows Bob Demarco from the Knife Junkie podcast, but if not, I'm not going to get into all the boring details. You can go over to his channel and follow his channel, and he has great conversations with tons of people, and some really great minds come on his channel. I've been on his channel, but so many people have been on his channel, and I find that so fascinating. You have everybody on there. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've really, that's the thing about doing the Knife Junkie channel that I've loved the most, is talking to all these people. And it's funny because to me, they're heroes. Having Les
Right.
George on the show, I was like, oh my God. First time I had him on, I was like, sorry, I'm not as smooth as usual. I'm a little starstruck. And he said, hey, Bob, here is the least famous pro bowler, and here's the most famous knife maker. Get over it. And I was like, okay, that makes it easy.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, when I was on your thing last, was it was Doug Ritter was on there. I had
Oh,
never
that was a
been,
fun one.
been in front of Doug Ritter, so that was amazing to me. Um, who else was on there? Larry Thomas, he was
Yeah,
on
that's
there.
right. That's right.
The guys from Finch, and I thought that was so amazing to be on there with those guys.
The birthday bash. That was the birthday
Yeah,
bash. Yeah, that was a lot of
yeah,
fun. And like you guys, and by you guys, I mean everyone I have on the channel, but I mean you, like, chief among a lot of them. Like, so many knives go through your hands, and you've developed an opinion, and that's what I love. Like, people who have, through experience, whether it's making knives or examining knives or sharpening knives or saving them, like you've saved many of mine that I've dropped tip down. Like, you've developed an opinion, and therefore you've got conversation in you about the stuff, and that's all that matters, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, Yeah, and everybody's has kind of and sometimes people will have like a complete opposite opinion about something than you. And
Mhm.
sometimes I find that fascinating, like where they got their ideas about it and why they think the way they do about whatever knife it is. Uh, but might as well get into some of these questions because I have a ton of them. I know we won't get through them all, and I got some weird ones in here.
Oh,
But
good.
first, I just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. Woman Carry Knives, what is up?
Hey, what's up?
I do got some stickers coming your guys' way. I haven't forgot about that. I got a lot of stickers going out. Everybody, what's going on? I see everybody's chatting, so I'll pull up some questions as we move along. What's up, Meg? All right, so I got some of the dumb questions in here, and then I think I got some somewhat interesting ones. Um, so with knives, right? What do you think should be covered under warranty? Like if you had a knife company and you were gonna write your warranty sheet out, what do you think should be covered under warranty?
Definitely first, all the embarrassing stuff, like any mistake made by my company, whether it's quality control or a bad, it's not sharp enough, or a bad grind or something like that. I feel like all of that should be covered, because as a knife maker, especially a knife maker who's charging the exorbitant fees I am for my knives, like, it's embarrassing to have anything come back. I work in a
Right.
creative field, and actually just today, after working on, I produce and edit videos, and after producing 5 really good videos with the material I was given, I got this criticism back and I was like, oh God, this is by committee. I could tell this is like a bunch of people sitting in a room watching this video, and everyone there wants to justify why they're sitting there. And so they're all going to give some useful criticism. And some
I
of
know
it,
what you mean. I
yeah.
know what you
Oh my
mean.
God,
Yeah.
that drives me nuts. So if I were in charge of a warranty situation, it would be anything on me. But if you do something stupid with your knife, maybe in the beginning you even forgive that. Maybe in
Yeah.
the beginning you forgive that, but then when you start taking it away, people are like, oh,
Yeah.
these guys
Definitely.
aren't as cool as they used to be. But I feel like anything structural, anything like, if it's not a wicked sharp blade, if it's not, in stellar shape in terms of fit and finish, commensurate with the cost, then yeah, I would cover that for sure.
What do you
What,
think about taking them apart? Would you make that like a thing? Because some companies, like, they're like, go for it, like they even advocate for it, but then other companies they're like, don't you dare take that knife apart. Like,
I feel strongly that you should be encouraged to take the knife apart. It's like this is my latest obsession. It's my Chris Reeve knives, Umnumzon Tanto that I got from Blade Freak for a great price. Thank you, Blade Freak. But these guys really encourage, before this showed up, I don't know if anyone else does this, but before the knife showed up, I watched every Umnumzon video I could find. And one of them was Tim Reeve taking it apart, showing how to take it apart and oil it,
yeah,
or, grease it up and stuff. And something that he underlined was, we encourage you to take the knife apart. And to me, that means, okay, they have confidence in how well this thing is machined, how
right.
well everything lines up. Every time it's going to, the hardware, everything, every time it's going to come back together. And I had a situation with a custom knife maker where I reached out, and I don't have too many custom knives. Hey, seems logical. Sorry to jump in,
No,
but
no,
I
no.
recognize that name.
Yeah.
I reached out to this maker. I wanted to make an adjustment, and I said, "So, do you use red Loctite? What's the Loctite you use? I want to take this apart." And he was,
Yeah.
in no uncertain terms, was like, "You shouldn't have to take that apart. It's fine the way you got it." And I was like, "Okay,
Right,
I'll figure
right.
this out on my own." Like, I didn't want to push it, but at the same time, I was thinking like, well, maybe that's because they're somewhat newish. Maybe
Yeah.
as they get further along, they'll have more confidence or
Yeah,
something.
I think I noticed that too. Like you said, I think sometimes some of the new guys they tend to push towards that, like, where don't take it apart, because they tuned it right there in house, and I think they feel that if you take it apart, you might possibly not be able to get it back perfectly together, tuned the way they have it.
Yeah.
But it's we have so many videos now with basically every knife being taken apart. You can watch it. It's not like the old days where you just had to go for it and you didn't know what you were getting into. Now, I mean, you can pull up a video on damn near any knife and watch it like be taken apart and put back together, assembled. You can see all the parts just in case if you lose a part or something like that. Seems logical. Says, wasn't Spyderco one of those companies who dissuaded against taking their knives apart in their warranty, or was that Benchmade? I don't remember which one. I think I'm not positive about that one.
I think he's right about Spyderco earlier on. I don't know if they're still like that, but I don't feel like taking apart knives has always been there. I feel like that's only happened in recent days since people have made them so that they could be taken apart. And I would assume that makes it easier in manufacturing, also in warranty work when you get it back. They weren't expecting that nerds like us would be noodling around,
First time I ever tried to, it was on a Kershaw, but they used red Loctite at the time,
Oh,
and I couldn't get it. It was mind boggling because I could not get it apart, and it was driving me nuts because I needed to get it apart. Recently, a company sent some knives out. This is a shielded knife,
oh
and
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
use some sort of glue, or it's not red Loctite, but it's similar to that. And yeah, I didn't even try it. I watched LTK from Love Them Knives try, and he couldn't do it. But they did promise though the second batch, because obviously they can't do anything about the ones that are in the factory right now.
Right.
But the next batch is definitely not going to have that issue because there was a lot of complaints.
I think they heated them and forge welded them together so that they're just one solid piece at this
Right,
point.
right. There's no need to take it apart.
Yeah, right. What are you
You don't
talking
need
about?
to do that.
You know what? One last note about taking
Yeah,
knives
yeah.
apart. It's not like it's an engine or a computer or
So
a
true.
tunneling machine. Like you take it apart. There are only so many parts here. You should be able to kind of figure out how to put it back. And to your point, if you can't, you can scare up any number of videos. You
You're
know,
right. Blade Ogre
hey,
says
Blade
he
Ogre.
thought it was Thursday Night Knives for a second.
Oh man,
Uh,
we all
Logic says, I think disassembling knives is something Nick Shabazz started in the community. I love how he does a review, then pairs it with the disassembly video. Yeah, you can always expect when you see that disassembly video that you got the review coming right after,
yeah.
which I think, I couldn't tell you how many times I've looked them up. I admit it, but I've actually looked them up sometimes because I didn't take the knife apart and I need a screenshot of it taken apart
No.
from my video. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, the library of dis yeah, and that's a brilliant way to maximize your content out of the amount of knives you get.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
for every knife, there's gonna be 2 videos, no doubt.
Well, I always notice though the knives that I do take apart, the ones that go like they can just come apart so easily and go back together like just so easily. They always go up a little bit, like they go up a peg or two, in my eyes because of how easy they are to maintain. Like there's been a bunch of knives where it's like it's so simple and they go back to so easily, and when you put them back together you don't need to do no adjusting or anything like that. It's like it just slaps right back together, good to go. The action's good, everything's good. But then you got those other ones where it's like you gotta loosen this screw here, tighten this one over there, fidget with it a little bit, and screw around just to get it right.
Well, let me ask you this, Jared. I mean, I think you take knives apart more than I do, especially with the sharpening you do. And we all know Chris Reeve knives go back together real easily. We all know, hey,
Uh-huh.
Mike, we all know that hinderers go back real easily. What else do you think? Like, how do Civivis do? I've never taken apart a Civivi.
Civivis are great. Civivis are great. Wees are great. The some of the best, to be honest, are Two Sons. Two Sons are
Really?
so easy. I even did a video one time on Instagram, and I did like a challenge on who could take apart a knife the fastest, right? And I did it, and it was so fast, like it was so fast, and I could have put it right back together, like damn near just as fast. But it was just how fast you could take apart a knife. But yeah, Two Sons for some reason, every single one of them I've had are always. I never worry about them because they go back together so perfectly. All the parts always fit perfectly. Like their machine quality it's off the chains.
Yeah, the only two sons I've experienced are the four that you loaned me probably about a year back or so.
Yeah, yeah. Need to
And they
get
were
some more over there.
suspiciously good. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what is
I
wrong
thought
with this knife?
I
It's too
thought
good.
the same thing. When I first got into them, I honestly thought, just because of the name, for no other reason but its name, I thought they were a clone company. So I refused to mess with them for a while because just because of the name. The name made me think that. Then I started like seeing them on people's channels, and I started seeing them more. And then I, looked into them and found out that no, they're not, a clone company. So then I wound up getting one. The first one I got, it didn't make sense to me. Like it's like, how is this knife? And I have other knives that were
Oh,
way more
yeah.
expensive next to it. And it's like, how is this possible? But yeah, it's that they're doing a great job. They just have so many designs that you can't keep up.
And weirdly named and numbered. I thought
Yeah,
I thought the one Migaron knife that I got, which was the
Pagos.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
or
that knife
Pagos, whatever.
was very reminiscent of a Tucson with
Yeah,
all of its kind of pinstriped milling and
mhm.
the
The
solid
micro
feel.
milling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and to me personally, when I see that on some knives, not all, but some of them, seeing that machining and those little details, like the little tiny machine lines, and I think that looks really cool because it shows like the the level of machining they can do. Because a lot of companies, it's flat, put a little, chamfer around the edge and done,
Yeah.
stonewash it.
Yeah, yeah, and even though it might not be, excuse me, actually grippy, it keeps your your tactile sensations engaged all the time. You're kind of always aware when your micro ridge is going over one of those micro, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Uh-huh.
sometimes you just need the feel of something in your hand to
For
kind
sure.
of remind you of how it is and where it is.
Yeah. And depending on the depth of it, some of them are like pretty grippy, some of them are not, some of it's just visual.
Yeah.
But speaking about Megaron, did you ever get to check out one of these?
No, I really liked that. I saw that on your channel, I don't know, last week or something, and I
Yeah.
thought, wow, that is handsome.
DC-53 steel.
What the hell
It's
is that?
so it's to just put it in a box, I guess it's a like a harder version of D2. So it's not D2, but it's I guess it's similar to D2 but harder. They can get it to higher HRCs, and it has a couple other attributes that make it better than D2. Sharpening it's man, it takes a nasty sharp edge, like off the charts sharp. Like it's crazy how sharp it gets. They're supposed to be making a 3.5 version of this next
What
that'll
is
be
that
coming
right
soon.
there? Is that
But
closer to
it's
375 or?
yeah, it's almost 4.
Okay.
It's about 3.8. Yeah, so it's a big knife, but man, it's pretty good. Even Metal Complex, he just recently did a video, I think it was today, on it, and he was talking it up too. It's pretty good.
I think it's really beautiful. It's kind of simple. I love the fuller, and the fuller almost makes it look like a drop point, or I mean, look like a clip point almost. I don't know. I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it has that look. When I first seen it, I looked at it and I knew right away, like, man, I want to try that because it just has that nice, almost kind of like the Ferrum Forge Stinger, almost just kind of
Okay.
not
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it, but a little bit. Which I like to look at that knife too.
Not for nothing. Well, before we move on, here is a example of, I'm not sure if you can see it actually, of micro milling kind of that is very grippy along this center line here, and then on the clip and on this little center line here. This is the Aurora by Crystal Knives from Russia. This is one of the ones that Levon of Knife Nuts is importing. It's a
Yeah,
really great knife. It's got a cool fuller and all that. But one thing that I really love is that micro milling, and it is actually grippy. It's kind of like having jimping all along the side, on both sides, and on the clip, it really aids in pulling it out. So
I
anyway,
wonder how that blade is for cutting because it's like concaved or something, right?
yeah, there's a big fuller there, as you can see, and
A,
it
a
is.
fuller.
I feel like, yeah, right. I feel like it was hollow ground before that fuller was put in there because it's got a pretty substantial spine thickness.
Uh-huh.
But by the time you get down here, it seems like it's thinner than it would be were it just a straight grind, like a flat grind. So I don't know, but it's a very, very sharp knife and gets very thin behind that edge there.
That
Pretty cool.
detent sounded real snappy when you closed it.
Yeah,
It had
yeah.
a nice click to it.
It does this thing that I like. I do like fall shut. I mean, it's hard not to respect that, but I do like one that has a nice smooth close that you have to kind of close yourself, you
Yeah,
know?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. I like all forms of action. Like I love false shut too, but I also like that glassy Teflon feeling, from real nice Teflon washers. I love that. I love the like I guess you call it Sabenza smooth. I love all the different kinds of actions. I find that they all have their own I don't know, own just beauty to it, I guess, or just and it's enjoyable just in a different way,
Yeah.
depending on which one.
I like the way you do a lot of videos on those kind of particulars, like 10 great knives with hydraulic action or 10 great
Right.
knives with thumb studs. Like I like how you get really kind of minuscule about the different topics you cover in your videos.
I get a lot of those I get requested because
Mm.
people want and I do a lot of them just off the top of my head because I know the things that I like they're gonna like too, but a lot of people request like, hey man, I'd really like to know like what knives are, the best with just thumb studs or just this. And
Mhm.
it's like, I'll make a video of it.
Yeah.
You know, instead of writing you a list, I'll just make a quick video. Winds up working out for the both of us. So, is there any companies or any knives that are out or coming out or have been out that that you kind of got your eye on or that you got your hands on? Like any company in particular that's like kind of standing out to you right now?
I'm I'm gonna sound like an old fart. I've been I really have been paring back and getting back into the basics, so to speak, but like the fine classics, like this is my favorite new knife right here. Chris Reeve knives, you know, Umnumzan. I've been carrying my Hinderers a lot. I just traded my Medford Praetorian for another Hinderer. Like I feel myself, I feel this pull back to the classics, though. If money were no object, I would get a whole lot more of these. Holy mackerel! The
The
Vero
Zeros?
engineering knives
Yeah,
are
yeah.
just, oh god, you know, it's hard when you're just watching videos and and going to Instagram and kind of watching what's happening there. It's easy to get swept into a flow, you know, of where people are going. Oh, this is great. I never would have thought this was great until Jared said it was great, and now, uh, uh, and so it's hard to kind of, without experiencing knives, to really see what the hype is about. For me, Blade Show, a large part of it was learning that Vero is worth all of the hype, and so is Koenig. Holy crap! I
Yeah,
picked up an Arius, and I was like, oh, you know, it's like I don't even like this kind of action, and I love this. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I
Of
got
course,
one
I
here
do,
right
but you
now. And the first one I tried though for the Ariuses, it was like the first production ones, and it wasn't nowhere near as good as like the new ones.
know, okay,
They just like fixed all the, because in my video I wasn't really aware that that I had an older one at the time. But when I did the video, the little complaints I had, the new one had addressed all the exact issues I said.
nice.
So yeah, it's, man, it's an amazing knife for
And
sure.
people were like, Jared, they already addressed that
Yeah,
issue in the new. And you're like, oh,
exactly,
sorry, man.
exactly. Yep, that's exactly what happened. So I know you're into you like warnies, right? You like warny, but
I do, yeah.
Um, are there, I'm not sure if that's your favorite blade shape or not, but are there any unique blade shapes that that kind of catch your eye that you are fascinated by or just, you know, like to use?
Well, I really, I love the Pikal style knives. You know, I've been going off about those for quite a while now. I pulled out a whole bunch here. Here, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the one that. Here's a great example of one. Except I
Okay.
got it double edged, so it's not exactly quite Pikal, but it's that idea born of the the fruit knife idea, where you have the tip down and the edge in. Of course, the Pikal style wasn't born out of this. Ed Calderon sort of popularized the use of sort of cheap kitchen Victorinox knives. The idea is, of course, they're self defense knives or fighting knives, or you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Damn it, you're
Eh,
answering one of my later questions. Go ahead. I'm
oh,
just
no,
joking.
no, no,
I'm
no.
just
And
joking. Go ahead.
and so it's based on this sort of motion, like, you
Yeah.
know, um, I've done a lot of Filipino martial arts training for fun. I'm not a badass. I don't go out and get in knife fights, but i've
He's a
always
badass.
I've always found this to be, yeah, as far as you know. uh, I've always found it really fun. So
The humble
I've
ones are always the badasses.
I've done a lot of that, but I think the intricate stuff goes out the window, I would imagine, in a real, and so you are back to caveman
Yeah,
motions, you know,
for
and
sure.
the Pakal knife maximizes on that, putting the tip down and the edge in, so that that sort of natural arc from your arm aids in the
Hmm.
tearing. It's like a cat's claw.
Yeah.
But also, I just find this interesting to look at. Like, here's a great example. This is a Dirk Pinkerton. I find that shape really interesting to look at because
Yeah.
it's off beat. It's off. You know, it looks like that blade should be tilted up a little bit. Is that a dill pickle? It is so tasty on a fish sandwich. Yeah, so it kind of feels like that should be up a little bit, and
Is
that's
that one double edged?
yeah. This one's double
Okay,
edged. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Dirk Pinkerton is not only a great knife designer, but
Yes.
holy mackerel, he is a great grinder. And
I've never tried any of his customs, but I have many of his designs. Yes, he's got some really cool designs out there. He really likes the Warncliffe. I know he has some Persians too out there, but he's got a lot of really good Warncliffe sheep's foot blade shapes that I
Yeah, he
really
sure
like.
does. He sure does. One of my favorites is right around here. This one I have on me a lot. The Main Street.
Yep,
I just
yep.
think this is such a great knife.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
Definitely is. I'm positive. Didn't I see? Man, I feel like I seen they made like a new version of that. I can't remember now.
Ooh.
It's just like glimpsing in my head. I'm not sure if it was like a titanium model or what it was. But no, that is a great knife. I've got one of those too. That is a solid knife. I've got a bunch of his designs. And a lot of them are like the exact same, but just different like in size or whatever.
Right.
But hey, it's a useful design for sure.
Right. This and the Shard are very similar, I
Yeah.
think. It's just
Yes.
difference in size, I guess, company. So
No,
if you look,
he did the small one in the Shard, and he also did the Concept, the Little Main Street.
the
He's got
little
the
main,
Little Main Street, and then the Shard. They're like the exact same.
right, just produced by rival
Concept and
companies.
Kaiser. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. But I thought that was kind of crazy that he did that because I guess you could kind of say they're kind of rivaling each other right now. They had a little bit of beef or whatever, but
I would
all of a
imagine.
sudden he comes out with the design from both of them, like basically the same design.
He's like, basically, I'll make money no matter who goes out of business.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna capitalize on both these bastards. But yeah, that blade shape is really cool though. I like it. I should have pulled out the one that it made me think of, but I'm not even gonna do that. I've been this knife right here, the Kaiser Roach. Did you get to try one of these?
I have a Kaiser Roach that BJ Hill gave me in a package. He was like, "You can sell this or keep it or whatever."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm gonna keep it. This is cool." I have it over there in my cabinet, but it's not one of these new ones with
Okay.
the micarta.
The titanium one? Is that the one you
No,
have?
no,
Or
no.
G10?
Mine is the G10. It's
Okay.
from the Vanguard series, different pocket clip and
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, the grip on it though, it's kind of unique because of this little deal right there. Your pinky
Yeah.
kind of rides right in there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool knife. But there was this other one that technically Kaiser is doing the OEM. I got it set over here somewhere, but the blade shape, it's kind of like a downward teardrop, but oh man.
Kind of a little bit like the artisan cutlery, that really sweet one. It's almost a Warncliffe, but it's kind of a downward shaped teardrop.
It's kind of just like just a downward facing teardrop, but it's not. Kaiser is the one doing the OEM work, but it's from Detalith Knives, and it actually is from which this is actually was going to be one of my questions to you about foreign blade shapes, like blade shapes or designs from other countries that you're fascinated with. And this one was one that I was because I think it's originally, I'm not sure exactly what country it originated from, maybe Taiwan or something. Um, Maybe I can just pull up a tab really quick.
While you're doing that, it almost sounds to me a little bit like the Lum designed Spyderco, the Chinese shit. I don't remember exactly what the knife was called, but it's a Bob Lum design, and it does have a sort of downward teardrop shape. And they came out with some small versions of it over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so.
This is the one on the right. That's actually the one I have right there. But you see how the how the blade goes down like that?
Yes.
It is so useful. Like I wouldn't have thought so, but after I got it, I brought it to work because like say straps, when you get around the backside of a strap or a rope, the rope is caught in the blade. It can't slip up and around. You know how some can they can slip around the blade like that one, it's caught in there. So that was one good thing. And then when you're going to cut stuff, blade or the edge is all kind of like a Warncliffe in a way, but it's always facing towards what you're cutting. Always. If you go from the side, it's curved, facing it. If you're going from the top, it's facing it. It's like it's always facing what you're cutting, and I found that really, really useful.
It almost acts like a recurve. It's
Yeah.
just because of that angle. And you're asking about foreign blades like over here. These are the what fascinate me the most, the Filipino knives and the Filipino sword designs. And a lot of them here, I'm just going to use this.
Yeah.
This is not Filipino, but a lot of them have that kind of angle. You know what I
Kind of
mean?
like what we were just talking about in a way,
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So that when you're, the Philippines was kind of always fighting, for their, uh, so their farm implements were also their and are also their weapons, and so
Right.
they have something shaped kind of like this. Well, it's very efficient because it's almost like a kukri or a recurve or a downward facing. So it cuts through whatever your work product is. You're cutting down sugarcane, I don't know what, or cutting through a jungle. But then when you have to cut through a man who's invading your land, it also has that optimized shape.
Not logical. I do still have them. I have them. I'm not. They're mine. I don't have to send them back. I'm gonna send them to a couple people to check out. But no, I still do have them. Um, yeah. I think the exact same thing like you were saying though. I think that the same blade shape from the one I was just showing you was the same way. It was kind of like it was a
Yeah.
gardening shape, but also like it wound up being versatile in so many different ways. And then it was originally a fixed blade. It looked just like that folder with like the brass or bronze bolster,
Mhm.
and then probably a wooden handle or whatever handle they would make it out of. But I seen some not ancient, but some older designs or older, versions of it, and it
Yeah.
looks identical. So I thought that was cool that they like basically remade this old design into a folder. So I thought
Yeah.
that was really cool.
Yeah, it's kinda like a nothing new under the sun thing. What cut well, uh, 500 years ago still cuts well.
Exactly. For
What how
sure.
do you Jared, how do you feel about Tantos? I've been having a resurgence in my love of Tantos,
I like them.
like
I like them.
show the Unums on.
I kinda like all blade shapes, just some more than others. But yeah,
Yeah,
I like Tantos for sure. Which
yeah.
one do you like the most?
I
'Cause
like
there's
the Americanized
me too.
the
Me too.
best, and actually, I really love this kind of zero ground wedge type
Yeah.
one that they have here, but I also love the cold steel style. I love the older SOCOM Elite Tanto,
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
pre I guess 2012 and before that,
Right.
because it has a bunch of facets and it's a little bit more complex, and I just
Yeah.
it just appeals to me.
Talking about cold steel, my favorite version, I think, of the Tanto is the Code 4. How it has the hollow grind in the flat area, and then the secondary grind, it's flat grind up there. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying like it has to be a dual grind like that, but even just that shape where the secondary tip is nice and pokey, nice and pointy, and the front part of the edge is just perfectly straight. So that's where you can use it for kind of the benefits of a Tanto, scraping, wedging, prying maybe a little bit,
yeah.
but then you still have that secondary tip, to cut things open or whatever.
And let's be superficial about it for just a moment. It
Yeah,
looks better when you have a big, deep hollow grind that slams into that flat grind because you
it
have that
does.
nice curve. It looks like a straight
Mhm.
razor. Like there's something
Yeah.
menacing and pretty about that.
That edge looks like it's just gonna pull things into it.
Yeah.
With that little curve right by the front, or by the secondary tip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that does look really good. But with the I guess you could say the drop points that have the same type of grind, do
Uh-huh.
you like those equally or are
Yeah.
you
I mean, if you ask me, this is that. This is just a Rick
yeah,
Hinderer, Spanto. I had it reground by Josh at Razor Edge, and
nice.
I asked him to put that hollow grind in there, and incidentally, he made like probably the sharpest knife I have, the thinnest ground. But the originals, if you see pictures of the originals, that's a nice little new micarta scale there.
Yeah,
But if you see
beautiful.
the originals of this grind, that's what they were. They were a hollow grind and then a flat grind. And to me, that's well, it's great for performance, and it also just looks cool,
For sure. For
uh,
sure.
yeah, for what that's worth.
Yeah, and those the hinders, I love them. I love I love the hell out of them, but they are a little thick behind the edge, so it doesn't hurt to take a little bit of steel off behind that
Yeah,
edge, you know, make it
yes.
a little bit better slicer.
You know that better than anyone. When you fix the tip on this,
Mhm.
you know, for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, you are absolutely the go-to guy. I think for a new, you know, I think you're my go-to guy anyway. I mean, you really fixed this blade, but you had a hard time with the regular cutting
Well,
edge,
because of the plunge grind, because of that choil, because
the
taking
no
off too
choil
much
and the
steel makes that wind up going away, and they get thick quick.
yeah,
So,
they
you
do.
know, if you're gonna lay back the angle at all, the bevel gets bigger. So the
Yeah,
thicker it gets, the bigger the bevel, you know.
still did a beautiful job on this
Oh
knife
yeah,
though.
yeah. Um, those those warnies that they got. What the hell? Hey, can you get him out of here, please?
You got an animal?
Yeah. But I haven't tried one yet, but the sheep's foot hinder, man, that thing looks so sweet to me.
It does look
It
good,
just, man, it's so eye catching to me, and I would love to see that with a nice thin hollow. Um,
like an Insingo.
exactly, yeah, and that's why, or the sheep's foot griptilian,
Mm-hmm.
like that. I love that. I love that blade shape, man.
Probably the best looking Benchmade blade. I mean, I don't know.
That's what I think.
That's right off the cuff, but that's
That's
probably my favorite.
I think that for sure. I love that. Like you said, the single blade shape is just such a useful blade shape for EDC. For it's just versatile. That's the thing. You can do so much with it. It's not just held down to like one specific kind of task. Some blade shapes are, you know, you can obviously do multiple things with them, but they just do like one thing really good, and everything else they can do. Right? That blade shape seems like it just does everything great.
What would you say is a blade that that does just one thing? I mean, besides like a clam knife or something, obviously.
So I would say like or hawkbill, like that. It's supposed to be for like cutting carpet, linoleum, and things like that. So
Pruning, pulling stuff towards you, and
yeah, but so it's not gonna be like the best slicer. You're not gonna skin a fish with it. You're not gonna
right,
skin a
right.
deer with it. You're not gonna be able to do, I mean, you can do utility cuts with it, but only specific kinds. Like
Yeah,
if it's very thin, like if it's anything thick, you're not gonna be able to, because it'll just hook it, you
right,
know.
right.
So
You're
and
not
then
going to thrust with it unless you're punching with it, and it's weird.
well, then you also got blade shapes like, say, a Persian, right? Persians are great for skinning and, say, you know, things like that, you know,
Right.
where you don't need the tip, you just need all belly. But anything to do with the tip, it sucks. Because
Because you're
exactly. And then
yeah,
you lose all the leverage because you need the leverage. You know, the joints being straight is where you get the most leverage. If you're moving your joints all crazy, you're not going to get no leverage through a cut.
yeah.
Um, But so what was that? Cue ball. So want to check out a non-flipper hinder.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the non-flippers. I think
Yeah.
those are the best ones.
You have a 3-inch non-flipper, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
I think I've tried the 3.5 inches, and same thing, man. They're so awesome.
So
And
do they adjust the detent?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I was just about to say that
All right.
the detent is completely different. It's not at all like the flipper versions. It's tuned, and I've tried two of the full size ones and one of the 3 inches, and all of them had like a perfect detent
Mm.
for thumb studs. So yeah, that was really nice.
I have this Gen 4, which I love, but it's before they went tri-way, and it's like when the flipper, unless you give it some juice. Oh, I guess that worked. But I mean, you know, it's
All
a you
right.
know, um, and I find it really good for a thumb stud, and I've thought, what if I do a flipper delete? But I
Yeah.
just can't bring myself
A lot of
to.
people say that if it works great for thumb studs, do a flipper delete. You won't regret it.
I just
Neeves, thank you for the donation. Neevesknives, I've been looking forward to this live since Saturday. Also, last week I subscribed to the Knife Junkie.
All
Oh man, that's
right,
awesome.
D-base. I
Oh
love it.
yeah.
or debass. I'm not sure.
Now that we do have some people in here, whoever is not following the Knife Junkie podcast, get over there and give him a follow.
Ah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And anyone who's here who's not hitting the like button and subscribe to Jared, well, I mean,
Oh man,
Jared and Kara, you
come
guys
on,
are just
man.
nuts.
Don't do that.
Where's my clock?
There you go. Let me see. Oh, what company do you, and I was thinking about this the other day, about like USA companies in particular, only USA. What company would you like to see doing OEM work?
I mean, this is just like fantasy land.
Yeah, Fantasyland for sure.
Oh man, I mean, maybe this is just because I'm in a current phase, but how cool would it be if Chris Reeve Knives did OEM work? Okay, so we haven't seen them do a flipper. We haven't seen them do a lot of stuff because they stick with one thing and perfect it and what have you.
Yeah.
But it's that spirit that makes me want to see them do OEM work, because I can't imagine anything would leave without Koenig. Yeah, I can't
That
believe
would be a
anything
good
would
one.
leave that spot without being spot on. But yeah, now I'm thinking like an old man. Maybe I need to think like NAF Sergeant, because someone like Koenig has already proven themselves, kind of across the board to be a really, capable company. Huh. Who do you have in mind for this, Jared?
So I started when I was thinking about this. Where I came from was I was thinking, why the hell doesn't Spyderco and Benchmade do OEM work?
Well, Benchmade just stopped recently. So
what do you mean?
Well, they were doing OEM work that, when they were doing the Ritter Griptilia, and that was OEM.
Yeah, but I don't mean like collabs like that. I mean just straight OEM. Like meaning like
I got you.
You're just building it and making it. It has my logos, my everything. You're just the OEM. Like kind of like how React does for companies or Best Tech or whatever. So that way USA people that want to get designs made can actually get them made in the US. Obviously the price is going to be more expensive. Everybody already knows that, but I was just thinking, like, why don't they do that? At least the places with the big factories, because other companies, why they don't. It's not possible.
Yes, right.
But for like, I was thinking for like Benchmade, you'd think it might be possible,
but it's not possible with all the models they come out with. Maybe Spyderco and Benchmade pairs back on their models. And then they have some bandwidth to do that. And I don't think that would be such an awful idea anyway. I mean, presumably they'd make a lot of money doing OEM work anyway, and wouldn't have to pay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't own a knife company, but it seems like the costs might be less than generating your own designs and doing everything soup to nuts than it would be to have someone come to you and say, here's a bunch of money, make my knives. And there have to be a bunch of extra knives that Benchmade and Spyderco produce that don't get, they're always coming out with these huge catalogs, and not for nothing, a lot of them look alike.
They would definitely make a
TRM.
If they did it, it would be a huge loss. TRM would be great, but like he said, they can't. There's no way they could do it because they, they got their hands overfilled. But I think that though, like some of the bigger companies, like you said, they would have to make like an extreme amount of knives just to cover the time that they would put into because otherwise it's a loss. Right, they're going to lose out from not making the models that they already are guaranteed to sell.
But they don't take on the same risk as the designer who comes to them though, because they're getting paid up front, right? I mean, I would imagine. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't actually done this work, but I would imagine, they get paid up front. They get paid no matter what. Now, of course, they have to produce. When I talked to Josiah DeMille from Millet Knives, he let me know it's not all duckies and bunnies, and they have a great reputation. They learned at the Chris Reeve factory. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they've still had, issues come up. Oh, we didn't know this would happen, and they're on the hook for it. So, I mean, they do take on some risk, but I think the real risk is the designer who comes with the money and says, build my knife for me. And if it doesn't work, they're out a whole bunch of money and they've got a back room full of knives.
Todd asks, who's the largest knife producer in the USA right now? I would say Benchmade, but I'm not positive. Spyderco or Benchmade.
We're not thinking of we're not thinking of companies like
Kershaw.
Case, though. Case must pump out
yeah, that's
shit
true.
tons of
That's
knives.
true.
I mean, with every collection
Yeah.
they come out with.
No, I think there's two different questions here, because which one? Because there's USA companies that are doing overseas, but they're still a USA company. Gerber, companies like that, but
yeah,
they're building their knives over there. But just strictly made in the USA, I would see a Case, Spyderco, Benchmade, maybe. I don't know about Zero Tolerance, or maybe with Kershaw, maybe.
Yeah, that's hard to say, because a lot of these companies you mentioned, like you said, most of Spyderco's are not made in the States. Most of Kershaw's aren't made in the States. I think most of Benchmades are, right? Or
all of them are up to date. But
yeah,
that some people would argue that they have parts and stuff made overseas. I don't know if that's true, so I'm not saying that. That's what they're saying over there, probably. But
I think they're red class, which they don't have anymore. They have the gold, the blue, and the black. The black is for operators. The gold is for people, high rollers. The blue is like the regular Griptilian EDC stuff. And for a while they had the red class, right? And those were produced in China, and they got rid of those. I think that went away.
Yeah, I don't think they do those anymore, though.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think it might be Benchmade. Oh, Buck.
I didn't think about Buck. Buck's definitely one that I don't know if they'd be the biggest, but they're definitely up there, because they've been pushing nice shit. When was Buck started?
Early 20th century, like early.
Right. They've been around forever.
And there's Ontario Knife and Tool. New York and Pennsylvania are big on the East Coast, and then Oregon and California on the West Coast. But what about Ontario, right? Ontario Knife and Tool.
Yeah.
Operators got to operate. You know what I mean? Get your black class knife right here.
Blue common man.
Uncle Randy would know.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Blue equals common man. Black equals law enforcement.
Yeah, I think CRKT. Where are they? They're in Pennsylvania or something. I forget.
Well, Columbia River Knife and Tool. They're in Washington State.
Washington. Okay, Washington.
Yeah, or Oregon. Is it Oregon? Wherever the Columbia River is. I don't know. I know it's out there, up there, out there.
Buck, founded 1902.
1902. Older than both of my grandpas. How about that?
Right. They've been doing it for a long, long time. And that's a company, when we were speaking about OEM work, man, I would love to see them collab, or just, I guess just collab, but come up with some new designs for, because I know they've done a couple, don't get me wrong. I know they've done a couple, but they have so much potential to kill it, to just knock it out of the park. They really do.
They do. They collaborated with Strider and Gavin and Grant Hawk. Those are two of the biggest, hitters on the whole scene. And they could keep doing that.
They should keep doing that, because if they kept doing that, like the Marksman, man, to me that's the best Buck. I love the Marksman.
It's so cool looking. I've never held a Marksman in hand.
Man. It takes a little bit to get used to, and you'll cut yourself a couple times. But after you've cut yourself, you'll get it down, and then it's so awesome.
Wait, how do you cut yourself? On the blade itself as it comes back in?
Yeah,
biting your finger that's just barely over the edge.
You forget to get your hand out of the way, and it goes ding and comes back and gets you. So that will happen for sure. You're guaranteed to cut yourself. I think when I had mine, the first week I cut myself 3 times, but after that I became a master with it, and it was a work knife for me. It's a hell of a good knife. Like, the grind is nice and thin. It's a hollow grind, perfect blade shape, just so many good attributes to it as a tool. And then the action, once you get it down, kind of like the 80-15,
yeah, right,
kind of like that.
Same sort of motion. You're kind of pinching in there, separating those two. The
difference is it's on bearings and it's swinging free. Like, there's if you want to feel a knife with zero resistance, it's like it's on air, because
really?
It doesn't even feel like it's on bearings. It feels like it's literally on air. Like, if you swing it like this, it's ricocheting back and forth because there's nothing stopping it. It's just like this.
Well,
So
okay.
that's why it can be dangerous.
Well, to that end, man, maybe it is Buck. Maybe they are the ones because they've been around a long time. They've got huge, manufacturing capability. They can make a Grant and Gavin Hawk knife and do it justice for whatever they cost. I'm sure that's a lot less than a G&G Hawk.
Right.
And they've worked with Strider. Maybe it is them.
That's another one, man. G&G Hawk. I'd like to see them do some more stuff too.
Man,
I can't even think of
new.
anything in the past couple of years. I mean, they had what, the Orbit? The
Well,
Orbit.
no. They just came out with the new iteration of the what's there out the front. The one.
Oh
that
yeah,
doesn't
but an
have-
OTF. I know the OTFs, but I'm thinking more
Oh,
of
okay.
folders. But
Oh,
yeah,
I got you. Yeah,
they
yeah.
are the king of OTFs, though, for sure. They're the king
Yeah.
of OTFs. That's
another
OTF.
one I've never held.
Me neither, but I've heard like that's the one OTF that doesn't have any play.
Yeah.
When it opens up, which is, I imagine, is very difficult to do.
Yes, and like wholly unnecessary, but completely desirable. The deadlock. Thank you, Daniel.
Yep, the deadlock.
Yeah. The deadlock. Cute dog.
But yeah, the Orbit, man, trying that thing was so fascinating. I don't know if you ever tried that.
What was the Orbit?
So it was kind of like a razor. So it was a full hollow grind, razor type edge, and it had it was kind of like an access lock.
Mm-hmm.
But
was that with Surge? Was that with Penchenko?
Yes.
That is right. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
That is a cool looking knife.
Yeah.
And I think it was right around the 3.5 inch mark too.
Yeah. And it was, dude, that is like the most unique sounding knife ever. It sounds like, I don't even know what you could say it sounds like, because it doesn't sound like anything out there. It's so mechanical, the sound of it. It has so many clicks and clacks. Yeah,
I love that.
It's an amazing knife. It really is. I'm surprised they discontinued it, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems like a moneymaker.
Yeah, for sure. I have a video of it, and I get comments all the time. Like, where can I get one of those?
You're like, mind your own business, man. That was like 5 years ago.
Right, exactly. For sure. So if you were out to sea, right? So if you knew you were going out to sea, the ship is sailing and you're going to be on that ship. What knife are you taking?
So okay, let's make a few assumptions. The first assumption is it's a folding knife.
We can assume that.
Okay, so if we're okay, and now let's assume we're taking it from my collection.
Okay.
And just it'll make it easier. I would take my Spidey Chef that Mike Emler turned into a clip point. He doesn't look like a Bowie, but he clipped it off.
Gotcha.
At the tip and sharpened the hell out of it, and then put a different sort of finish on the blade. I can't remember what he called it, but if he's still watching, he could chime in. And that knife, I mean, he took the Spidey Chef, which I thought was cool. I couldn't get it sharp, and I sent it to him, and he sharpened it, and I asked him to take the point. Like, when he sent it back, I was like, this is a whole new knife, and this is a knife I love. It might have to be that knife if I'm going out to sea, because I'm concerned about corrosion and salt in the air and all that. So that would be clipped in my pocket. And now I'm going to go a little bit old school here. I might go on my belt with a SOG Trident. The SOG Trident is, the SOG Trident is a version of their classic SOG Bowie with the two peaks on the spine. Except it's in a different kind of steel. I don't know what they made it, and it was shiny as opposed to with the black. So it was some sort of stainless, and it was just basically their marine version of the SOG Bowie, which I think is just beautiful, and I love that knife in particular. I think right now, in my current mood, that's what it would be. It'd be the SOG Bowie, and it would be the Spidey Chef, and then it would be this cutlass on the wall, because that's for boarding and chopping off heads.
Thank you, Gregory. Roses are red, violets are blue. Hit the like button. We love you too. Thank you, Gregory. I appreciate that.
Di Giovanni, beautiful name.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't the Warncliffe like a sailor's blade shape? I'm not 100%, but I think I've heard
I don't know.
that Warncliffe is like that's what the sailors used to use because I'm not positive, but I think something to do with like cutting knots out and things like that. That
Interesting,
that
because like
shape
maybe
to get
you
in there
can.
and hook it. So,
Did you want me to make you some coffee?
please.
I heard you before. I'm not positive. I'm sorry.
The sheep. Yeah, I think a sheep's foot would be really good for the same thing.
Because maybe you can get that tip into a knot. Is that what you're saying? Sheep's
Yeah,
foot.
I believe Mike Emler told me that. But yeah, something to do with like cutting rope and things like that. That it just worked out. Like sailors always had like I think a fixed blade version of a Warncliffe style blade. Knife Sergeant says the Thun Rar XXX. That's a lot of XXs. XXL because it's N690. That's definitely something you got to consider. Is that damn corrosion? Because
Yeah.
if you're out at sea, your knife's gonna rust.
So what's the deal with N690? I know all of my Fox knives are N690. A lot of my Italian knives are N690. Is that especially corrosion resistant?
It's very corrosion resistant. It holds a really good edge. It's easy to maintain. It's not like crazy tough or anything like that. It's like 14C is a really tough steel and it's far tougher. But so it's not really tough or anything, but it's a good quality steel. And N690 does have really good corrosion resistance, so it would be good like for out to sea. There's a few steels out there that would like VG10 would be really good out there. That's why it does so good with kitchen knives.
Oh yeah, and that makes sense. That in Italy, because it's a slender country, it's surrounded by salt water, that they would have everything in N690. Sax picture.
That does make sense if you said that. That does make sense. Sorry.
So here's a little interesting thing. I mean, we're talking about maritime knives, and we're talking about like false history. The elephant's toenail or the sunfish knife. It's the big fat. It's not a jackknife. It's technically a pen knife because but it's known for being bulbous and big like this. Well, the first time I heard of this knife, I heard that it was used, I think I saw it on a cutlery lover video, that it was intended to be put on thick ropes on the bow of a ship. And then you take a mallet and bang, you just baton it through the rope. And then I found out that that's actually not true. Like this design was most preferred by traveling salesmen in the Midwest for some reason. I don't know what they were selling or why this was.
Found out it was all lies.
Yeah.
All lies.
Exactly. It's all a foundation. It's clay feet.
Right. Lefty EDC says, he's talking to Daniel, but shout out to Lefty EDC. Go sub to his channel. Awesome.
Thank you, Lefty. I have a couple of his knives under my roof at this very moment.
And he says he's rusted N690 sitting in his knife case.
What?
That's because he first carried it and got ball sack juice all over it and wound up rusting it out. He can pretty much rust just about anything, but for the most part, for the average citizen, it's going to be like Q1 Fiend said, very similar to VG10 and 154 CM, which are also good corrosion resistant knives. You do got to pick your battles, right? Because especially if you're not talking about a super steel, because any one of us could talk about like Van X Super Clean right now, right? Yeah. That would be like the ultimate steel to bring. But now, who's using besides like Quiet Carry? Not many people are using that steel. That's like, it's. I wish we'd see more people using that steel. M390. Lefty says ass juice, not balls.
It's very corrosive.
M390 is really corrosion resistant. That's another one that's like, it's really, really corrosion resistant, like surprisingly good. So that would be a good one. Somebody said, what was it? What's that new steel called?
MagnaCut.
MagnaCut. That'd probably be a good one.
So Jared, let me ask you, it's a riff on this last question about going to sea. What would you take in terms of action? If you could choose whatever action is in the pivot of whatever knife you're talking about, what would it be?
Well, I would want ceramic bearings. And the reason why is because, and I've said this before, that with washers, right? When the moisture does get in there, the washers are going to trap it against the surface. And with bearings, the air gets to flow through it.
Yeah.
So I would personally, and I can rinse it out, I can blow it out, I can do those things a little bit easier than with washers. I got that from because I took apart a knife. I was maintaining a knife for somebody that was sent in. When I took it apart, that's where it was rusted. Like
Really?
everywhere else was clean. I didn't see any rust anywhere. Took it apart, and in the washers, like near the washers and around them and everything, like obviously from it rotating, it was, scraping it off, but around the washer was all like it had a bunch of rust and patina all around it. And I was like, man, because bearings, like I said, the air kind of flows through it. So
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that. And also it's like, with the washers, part of what we like about washers is that resistance, or that hydraulic, quote unquote, hydraulic action, that resistance. But that resistance, if you introduce water, is like, I would imagine, like when you have two pieces of glass with water acts like glue between two pieces of glass,
right.
Uh,
And then add salt in there too. Now you got,
yeah.
I mean, it's just getting crushed in there. With bearings, I mean, and this is just theory, I mean, I haven't been out there sailing with a bearing knife for that long to really find out, but I would imagine that just in my head that it would probably last pretty good as long as you were maintaining it and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So what would be the difference, right? Because that was the out to sea knife. So let's say you can say going off grid or going out in the jungle. What would be the difference between your sailing knife and your jungle knife,
I
or
think
off the grid knife?
Yeah. I think I'd be a lot less precious with the off the grid knife. I think with that, I mean, and now we're going to assume that I could take a folder and a fixed blade and then maybe a larger fixed blade. Hey, Kara,
Oh,
Hello.
thank you.
good to see you.
Good. Nice to see you too. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're not. We're talking about what we would take off grid knife wise.
I heard you guys talking about the Warncliffe with the boat thing.
Yeah.
And wasn't that knife created by some guy named Lord Warncliffe?
I think so.
Yes, it was.
What was his deal? Was he a boat guy?
I don't think he was a boat guy. I did read up on him one time. I forget. He was some rich guy. Like I don't know if he was a king or not. Lord, yeah, I don't know what lord falls under. Like if it's like a king or something. But and then that's what he requested. That's what he wanted having made for him as his like daily, short sword carry.
He's like, from now on, all knives and blades will look like this, and they will be called the Warncliffe.
They shall be called the Lord Warncliffe.
Yeah.
Peasants
Exactly.
won't be able to use them either. All right, I'll see you guys later. Nice seeing you.
All right,
Thank you,
take care. Good to see you too.
So jungle knife.
So jungle knife and off the grid, I would go. Okay, I would get a tops. I would get a tops knife for sure. Which one? I'm not exactly sure because I have a few and I have fewer than I used to have, but they're awesome. Okay. Many of them are 1095, but many of them are also designed to be used in these kind of situations. So many of them are also made in, I guess, 154, but it doesn't matter. It's coded. All right. So I would take, what I would take? I would get a large tops, maybe that one that looks like a sax, that big one, just for all the big work.
Right.
And then I would take a smaller fixed blade, like I'm going way out. I've never had one of these, but like a bussy. I'd get a bussy knife.
Yeah.
And then my small knife, my small fixed blade, I'd take this Crewwear Shark by Steingraber Performance Knives. And then as a folder, you know what? I might take a cold steel folder, just something I could bust on without being like, oh, but
Right. So let me ask you this though: if it did have to be one, right, and you could
Oh,
say it's a fixed blade,
okay.
would you rather have like something big chopper wise, or something more like 5 inches, something like kind of in the middle, where you could kind of slightly chop with it, but not really? It's mostly
Yeah.
just for
I
cutting.
I think ideal would be like a 7-inch blade, like
Okay.
basic dimensions of a K-bar,
Yeah.
like a combat classic uh, dimensions.
Gotcha.
I think would be ideal because you get a little bit of the chop, but it's also small enough you're not gonna, because you also have to imagine if you're in a survival situation, you might not get enough nourishment, you might get weak, you might get fumbly. You don't want some big giant knife that you're like, that's too much to deal with.
Yeah, because you
But
do have to truck it around.
yes, exactly, and you have to use it, and I also adhere to the Lynn Thompson sort of theory that you can do small knife tasks with a large knife, but not reverse. So, you know,
Right.
it'd be somewhere
Ebass
there.
says the sheep's foot got its name from herdsmen who originally weld this type of blade for the purpose, or wield this type of blade for the purpose of, you guessed it, tending to hooves on their sheep.
Oh,
Yep.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. A lot of people think that it has to do with the actual blade shape, that it looks like a sheep's foot, but
It
it's
does.
because it was used for sheep's foot. That's why.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think the original ones though didn't have as pronounced of a tip as the ones do now, because they didn't, because getting inside the hooves, cleaning it out,
Right.
you didn't want to poke them, so
Oh, yeah. That's like, well, there's that's a sheep's foot I have right here, and I could see how you could use the
yeah.
back end.
Hmm.
But something that came up the other day was the spay blade, which
Yeah,
I do love the shape of, and I'm
me
kind of
too.
fascinated with the fact that
I
it's
love that blade shape.
for spaying. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Especially,
know.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I like how GEC does their spay blades.
Hmm.
They're wide. They just
Yeah,
have a lot of, so they get really thin behind the edge, and that's what you want when you're cutting balls.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You definitely, thinner the better when you're cutting sacks off. I think that because the original ones didn't have a tip, like basically whatsoever, because the point was to be able to cut the sacks off, or
Yeah,
without poking the actual skin of the animal and hurting them. It was made for just cutting, where you can get up and around without
right.
poking. But I like the I guess kind of the new age version of it, where it actually has a tip. um I'm not gonna say, I guess some people would call it kind of like the reverse Tanto. I don't like to use that, but like the 940, kind of like but kind of just like that. But I don't know why, but my eye is so attracted to that blade shape. I love that blade shape,
Yeah, me too.
but with just a little
But
bit more of a tip.
are you referring to a tip more like the 940 or more like that?
More like that, but maybe there's a little bit more tip. But yeah, I guess
Okay.
it's kind of like the 940. You could say like the 940. Because I guess that's basically what I'm saying right now. Because if you put that with a little bit pointier of a tip, you're basically getting a 940.
Yeah.
Such a good blade shape.
Are you a big 940 fan?
I do like I love the blade shape, and I do like the knife, but there's things about the knife that I don't like. But I love the knife. I think it's an awesome knife. I think it has lots of uses. I think it's more of a multi-tool than just a knife, though, because like the
Interesting.
robustness of the blade. And I'm not the only one who said this. I've heard other knife makers talk about this, that depending on how the grind is done, means that that knife might not be just specifically for a knife. Like a lot of knife makers realize this thing's going to be used for construction, or this thing's going to be used for this or that, and those guys are going to pry with it, they're going to scrape with it, they're going to do
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And I think that knife's purpose was to be sort of a multi-tool, where you could use the part of like the tip, or like near the spine, to pry small things up, paint
Yeah, like
things
a
up.
paint can or
Right,
something.
exactly.
Yeah. That makes
and
sense.
then and then it's not made to be like a great cutter, it's made to just cut when you need something cut. So, but yeah, I do like it. I love the blade shape though. It's like such a great blade shape. What's that bigger one called?
The Contigo,
Yeah, the
and then
Contigo.
there's one between the two called
That Contigo is amazing.
yeah. Yeah, I love that knife. Even with that big double finger choil up front, that I
Yeah,
loved that knife. It's
yeah.
jimped all the way around. That thing is
Uh-huh.
sweet. I had one in M4 and I, like a lot of knives, sold it to get something else.
Yeah.
And on occasion, I miss it, but
Right. I think that blade shape right there, either with a nicely thinly ground blade or a hollow grind would be just oh, I'd
Yeah.
love to have that.
Oh yeah.
So what two materials in knives do you think go best together that you like?
Mm. Yeah, I like stag on
Ooh,
a,
wasn't
with
expecting that. Nice.
yeah, I love stag. I love stag with you know what? I don't like patterns next to each other. Though I do like stag next to Damascus, but I'm gonna say the look of a really nice piece of stag next to a bolster of just plain zirconium to
Ooh,
me is just, I mean, that's a gorgeous combination. And to me, like this is just personal. If you have a busy pattern like
yeah,
stag or like Damascus or like maybe a marbled carbon fiber or something like that, it needs to be next to something plain so that they play off one another, because plain can be beautiful too. That's why I mentioned zirconium.
I agree.
Zirconium is beautiful, just in a blasted finish or what have you. So those two next to each other
Hell yeah.
would be really lovely.
So do you like the thought of, because I really like this thought, especially with a lot of traditional knives, but even if they're not traditionals, because I really like modern traditionals, but
Mhm.
taking some of the old materials that we used to use and mixing them with some of the new materials,
Yes,
I think that
yes.
sounds amazing.
Yes, like I mean, you've seen Terzuola do that, with
Yeah,
different carbon fibers. And then I mean, when I was thinking of the stag and the zirconium, I was pretty much thinking of him and a couple of other makers. But like that sort of, he's been doing it long enough. He can reserve himself. He doesn't have to put every awesome material in one knife. He can be like, boom, here's, who I think does the many, a water buffalo horn is a good handle material. Yes, it is.
yeah.
Kukri. Yeah.
He got me a kukri. I got another
Nice.
one over on my sharpening bench. I should have brought it in here,
Oh,
but
sweet.
this thing is
Oh, look at that.
so sweet.
That is beautiful.
Yeah,
That
the
is
leather work is
beautiful.
really nice. This thing, and it's hollow all through here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Oh,
you can kind of
nice.
see it. It is amazing. It's a work of art for
You
sure.
best not come uninvited to the Neve household.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Because I am wanting to use it badly.
It is wanting to be used.
Right.
I had when I was in New York, I went to a great martial arts school there, and we had a bando instructor come. Do you know bando is like it's a form of fighting using kukris.
Okay.
And this guy came and he showed us some stuff, and I was surprised at how rigid it was. It was not what I was expecting, but it was interesting and cool and fun. But he told a story, and who knows if it's true, but it sounds true and I like it. But he was talking about kukri soldiers running across the field in some sort of a charge, and one of them draws his kukri and lops off the forearm, like the hand of the guy next to him accidentally. And and the guy probably didn't even flinch, and they ran into battle and laid waste to their enemy. But I just thought that was
Right.
an interesting kind of
For
that
sure.
yeah, that blade shape is crazy.
Well, this is going to go into this next question, which is a two-part question, but it might be the same answer. So, if you did get into a late night gas station fight or something like that,
Like I
what would
fantasize.
be the knife or the blade that you would want most on your body?
Huh. All right. Well, all right. The answer. Okay. The answer will be twofold. This is obviously a
It's
fantasy.
got to be logical. Like, you can't say a samurai sword or something because you're not going to a gas station with a samurai sword. Maybe you are, but
What about this? I might be walking around with this.
yeah.
No.
You
Okay.
might- I
Okay,
don't know.
I wouldn't, but this is my official dueling knife. If I ever get called out on a duel,
That's
this
the
is what I
one.
bring. This is my 50th birthday knife made
That's
by Hogtooth
beautiful, man.
Knives. Thank
Oh,
you.
it's gorgeous.
It's a special thing, and I've always been a big fan of the Bob Loveless design. This sub hilt fighter. I think originally it was called the Big Bear Fighter or something like that. But so okay, that's a duel. No, but honestly, like if I had to it would probably be that or this, like one of these two right here. Either the JB Knives Ditch Pick, which is an ultra thin 1/16 of an inch, double-edged, just, Pickall style.
That looks like it's doing damage.
Yeah, and it's going to, hey Scott, and it's going to stay in your grip because it's got very grippy peel ply textured G10. It's got a very nicely ergonomic handle, and I could just see it bring out that ditch pick. I could see it just kind of sticking with me, and but also this. Eric Kramer of Kramer Custom Knives does just incredible work. I feel bad because he keeps showing stuff, and I'm like, hey, are you making more of those? And he's like, yeah, are you interested? And I'm like, I can't afford it, but I want to know, and I've done that, like,
just in case I might hit the lottery or something.
Exactly.
Man.
I've done that like 2 times recently, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, man. I get so enthusiastic, but his knives are beautiful, very thin, and it's likely to be on me. These 2 knives are so light and thin, and I carry them like this one tonight. So I carried this today, and then at work, I thought I was going to be all bundled up because it's freezing at work, but I ended up, so I wasn't carrying this because I have no place to stash this unless I have a sweater or something.
Can't
so I took this off.
If you don't have it on you.
I know, but and actually where I work, I might be likely to actually need it, truth be told. But
okay.
But in any case, I did not. I took this off, but on the whole, these very thin, light, double-edged
thin. It
knives,
looks like it's thin. The blade.
Yeah, they're just easy to keep on you, so you're more likely. And then I keep it in the waistband or at 3 o'clock, and you pull it out like this, and yes, of course, it's 100% of the time, it's like me just wanting to carry a sweet knife that I have and being like, well, who knows, I might need it. But
right.
Reality,
guy runs up fast, you grab it, and then he just walks past, and you're like, yeah, you didn't want it.
Yeah. Oh, it's 3:15. Sorry.
So the second part of the question, which might be the same exact answer, which is most likely going to be, if you were the attacker. Okay, so you're not in defense. You're not in defense. You can call it an assassination, whatever you want to call it. What are you bringing for the assassination?
All right, so this is an assassination. This is just. I'll just go with what I have. I might bring this. This is the Spartan Harzy dagger, and it is beautiful. It's so. The grinds that are there, the primary bevels that are there, are hollow ground. So it's reasonably sharp behind the edge. But as you can see, it's not a huge span here. And it's less than a 1/4 inch. I guess it's like, I'm not gonna guesstimate how thick that is, but it's less than a 1/4 inch thick. I guess it's probably, but it's like 3/8 of an inch thick. It's got the hollow grind. It's got this rigidity down the spine almost all the way. But as you can see, it's very pointy. It has a beautiful guard and great ergonomics. I feel like this is that kind of knife. I mean, you don't use this knife for much else than that. I don't know what else you would use.
Yeah, no, for sure. That thing looks like it's made for punching through bulletproof vests. Or something,
yeah. Right in the nape of the neck. Instant ragdoll. It's a line from a movie. It's just a line from a movie.
Just a line from a movie
called Uncommon Valor. I guess that's what about you, Jared? What would you bring if you were if you were going to do this grim task?
If I was going to do an assassination, I think I guess like if it was planned, I think I would try to plan it to be, quick and fast, right? Quick and fast. And I would imagine, like that I'd already be planning to possibly go for the throat. Just in my head, that's what I'd be guessing. But then I think about it like kind of like what you just had, that I might get in a situation where I'd have to just punch a hole, right? And just do it like that. So I think a double-edged dagger would probably be the best because I could do both. I could do either one.
And actually, I am not a military operator, and I have not ever taken out a sentry, but I have watched videos by old British dude. Well, there's this one video in particular, this old British guy talking about the Fairbairn Sykes, this one right here.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically, this is basically based on that. And he was talking, he mentioned two things. He's in a museum talking about this knife, and he's an older fella, and he's like, you don't even have to thrust it. You just grab the guy and pull him onto the blade. And I was like, okay, so you got to be close. But he was like, in the movies, they always had to do this.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not what we did.
Right.
We would come up, we would put it through the
right
neck
to the side. Yeah.
and then punch forward.
Punch forward. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, God. And he's like, nasty bit of business, pretty messy, but it'll get the job done. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
I heard a guy similar talking about that, and he was talking about punching through the rib cage, and he was saying how you would be surprised how, you know, with certain blades, right, how difficult it could be, or, you know, how you would hit bone. So it's good to have that spear, right, to go right in between them, you know. And because he was talking about how they would break their blades and or not be able to pull them out because they'd get stuck on the ribs, you know, so that you're not going to be able to take it out because it'll just get jammed and stuck. And having something like that, it's just in and out. So.
Yes. Yeah, you have all sorts of serrations and swoops and all that stuff.
Right.
And
you're just asking for trouble.
That is grim business, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank the Lord I haven't, you know, that's not my line of work.
For sure. Don't hesitate to punch for the back of the skull.
Spanky, tell me what you really feel.
Right. Yeah, don't hold back. Don't hold back. Cue Ball says you want a knife that can slice cleanly and puncture without breaking. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the biggest one of the biggest drawbacks is what's logical that you got on you, right? And if we're talking about self-defense, obviously we're talking about assassination, you already got it pre-planned and you know what you're carrying with you. But in a defensive situation, it's, well, what can I use good, like that's going to work good as a tool 99.9% of the time, and then if that 0.01 chance happens, it'll also work out good for that.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing, because, you know, I make no bones about it. I think about that a lot, and mostly it's not because I find my life in danger a lot. Mostly,
you just said that you work in a I'm going to guess that you meant as in a little bit of a crime-ridden area.
No. I work in a government building. That's what I mean. Someone could easily come into where I work and shoot the place up.
And it was a crime-ridden area.
No.
Okay.
Not anymore. This is a different kind of I mean, it's just a situation where it's kind of a high-value target type place. But
okay. I got you.
Use that pencil. But what I was going to say is, like, for instance, this knife is on loan to me from this old Sword Blade Reviews, Dave. It's yep. And I love the blade shape. It's very, it's you know, it's hollow ground in this recurve portion. It's flat ground up here. It would make a wicked, you know, self-defense style knife. But the thing that I always get hung up on is, unless it's got a wave, how the hell how the hell am I? Let me put it that way. How the hell am I drawing a folding knife and deploying it and getting it ready for a, you know, impromptu situation? I feel like the big hang up would be in the opening of the knife, the pulling out, and all of the fine manipulation it takes to reorient and to get it, you know. Has anyone had to pull out a knife for self-defense? I know a guy who would be very well qualified to use it. Who did. He never opened it, but he told me he pulled it out, and I believe him.
I've pulled out a knife a couple times.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of bad situations like that. I've had a knife pulled out on me. I've had a knife attacked me twice. Once with a razor blade. The razor blade, I was really young, but I've told the story on here a few times, so I don't need to go into it. But yeah, but with pulling out a knife, I didn't pull it out like and use it. I don't the person didn't even know I did pull it out, but it was just like a situation that was happening around, and I pulled it out like as in like a ready thing, you know, but didn't have to use it, thank God.
Thank God,
But
man.
but yeah, just being in bad neighborhoods. I grew up in bad neighborhoods, so
Okay. Yeah, something about you it says I wouldn't mess with you. I mean, like, no, I mean, you
a
know,
lot of people would disagree.
yeah, right. You get a sense about people. Yeah, my brother-in-law is a big dude. You know, he's built and he's a Marine and very nice guy, but for some reason, I think it's his thick neck. People feel like they have to challenge him all the time. Oh, you got a big neck? You know,
Yeah.
like they actually say that, which is
Oh,
fucking
really?
weird. Yeah.
Those are the
Yeah.
words they use. Hey, man, you got quite a big neck
You
over
got
there.
what it's
I don't know what
like
you're saying to me,
what
but
is
you
this? Are you
say
coming on to
something.
me or are we gonna fight? What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
I would think of seeing a big neck as kind of strong, you know. Like,
Yeah, I'd get yeah, exactly. But I don't know. People
but
can be weird.
yeah, I think we all tend to think about that, you know, in the back of our heads that what if, you know,
Yeah.
and because we're the EDC community, so we like to be prepared for things, whether it's a string, a strap, a rope, some cardboard, you know, a damn splinter, or possibly something even, you know, dangerous, you know.
Jared, thank you for saying that, man. I haven't heard anyone put it like that. It's so simple, but it's so true because um you know, being on YouTube talking about knives, you need to you you know, things can get you in trouble, but
Mm,
that is the truth. EDC, the EDC community, people who like their lights and their pens and their gadgets and their knives, like myself, you know, that is part of being prepared. It's not just being able to cut things and light things and write on things, but you know, it's also about protecting you know, the flesh wagon that's bringing everything around.
yeah, we don't like to be caught with our pants down for sure, you know,
Exactly.
like without nothing. You know, you like to think that even if it is one of those last resort type things, you know, you like to think that you at least have the last resort, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it would go in court. Like if you know, between say a firearm or a blade, which one would work out better in court?
Mhm.
Because I like to think, and I don't know, but with a firearm, you know, they might look at it as that, you know, you because you have maybe some distance or something, maybe you didn't need to or something. But with a blade, it's like I didn't use it until we were in contact, right? Like I didn't have a choice at that point. You know, like it was already too late. You know what I mean? Because you have to be hands on to use it.
Yeah.
So, but
Psychologically, though, I feel like a jury might feel like that's so
I
savage,
know it
you know?
sounds so much more savage for sure.
Yeah.
Like if I asked you right now, would you rather be shot or stabbed? Most likely, you're probably gonna be
I think
shot.
I'd rather be shot. I'd
Yeah,
prefer neither, but
right.
you know, it's like when you know Michael Janich, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I was talking to him on the show recently, and
I don't think so.
I asked him afterward for Patreon interview. You know, I put a little bit of extra for Patreon viewers. I asked him what he thought about ringed knives like karambits, and then I asked him what he thought about libre fighting, which is the style that advocates the use of a Pakal knife and, you know,
Uh-huh.
and, and he put it in an interesting way. He was like, well, as a Libra fighter, like if you have to engage someone with your knife, your work product looks like a murder scene. And I was like, first of all, I love that you called it your work product.
Right, right.
But second of all, you're right. Like, yeah, it's very effective for self-defense. But when you stab someone 20 times in the gut and then move up to their spine and all this other stuff, and it's totally in self-defense, it still looks a certain way. And that's the part I'm talking about when we're talking optics between gun and knife. In
Yeah.
today's world, what did that last one say? I'm
In
sorry.
today's world, you better go out protected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't, you're kind of being a Pollyanna about it, and hopefully everything goes fine. I know your wife carries a knife. My wife, that's how I met my wife. You know, so it's very important. My girls, I have a 11-year-old daughter and a 6.5-year-old daughter, and they're the 11-year-old has a couple of knives now, and she loves them. And you know, it's good that they're not afraid of them anyway.
Yeah. No, I think fear is a big thing that people need to get over. regardless of what it is. I think knowledge and knowing what you're dealing with. I don't care if you have a fear of dogs, well, then you should learn about them. If
Yeah.
you have a fear of firearms, knives, whatever it is, doesn't matter, then learn about them,
Yeah.
because usually fear comes from not knowing, you know. We're about to get into story time.
Oh, good.
So I'll just tell a quick story really quick, since it kind of relates to the subject we're talking about.
Sure.
So one time I was I told this story before, but I got robbed at gunpoint in my
Oh,
van.
shit.
Yeah, and I had a knife. It wasn't in my pocket. It was right in between the seats. I was in a van. Okay, so it was like kind of like stuffed in between the seat and the cup holder, and it was one of those. You probably know the knife too. One of those case knives that has a leather sheath with a gut hook on the back. That's what it was. Okay, and I had it stuffed right there, and I could have easily grabbed it, right? But you know, he's in the passenger seat and he's got the gun on me.
So he came in, he busted into your car.
He jumped in, and then gun was right there, and he's holding it on this side, you know, like this, so I can't reach it.
Yeah.
I can't reach it, and I got a seatbelt on, so now, you know, like lunging over there wasn't a possibility. Grabbing for it wasn't a possibility because it's on the other side of him. So I felt very like it sucked. Like I wish I could have did something. I thought about this so many times in my head, like playing it over and over and over, but I'm alive, so I guess I did it right. And I was obviously in a bad area. But he's seen it. He's seen the knife, and he looked down at it, and he told me, he's like, if you go for that, he's like, I'll pop you, motherfucker. And, you know, and he had the gun, and so I didn't go for it, especially because he's seen it too.
Yeah.
Because it's like now he's ready for it. But yeah, it was definitely a situation where I felt defenseless, like there was nothing I could do. And I don't know, like if I didn't have the seatbelt on, I probably still wouldn't have did anything, because it's such a long everybody thinks about what they would do in a situation, right? But that's a very long lunge, even if it is only a few feet, right? And to make sure that I'm 100% going to be able to grab the gun and not get shot in that process and get it from him. And it was a small gun too, so you know, it's not like it has a big old barrel and I can hang onto the barrel. You know, if I grab it, I'm probably going to get shot in the hand.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it fucking sucked.
Oh man, I bet you thought about that a lot afterward. But
We did.
Man, I think you did it right, because, you know, think of the time it would take you to grab the knife. Who knows? Maybe it had a retention strap, maybe it didn't, but to grab the knife and to grab it perfectly without fumbling it, pulling it out and engaging with it. And it's not the optimal blade shape for that kind of activity anyway.
No, it's
and
not.
Maybe he had clothes on. Probably he did.
He,
you know, so
he definitely wasn't naked. But
so you have that to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So, and all he had to do was go like this. You know, like
and all those factors, even in the moment, are just going through your head. Like everything's going through your head, and especially afterwards, you know, because then you start reliving it, start rethinking about, like, man, I could have this, I could have did that, and you know, and I definitely, you know, seeked out, I guess I probably shouldn't talk too much about it, but revenge after and everything, because it was that like painful to me, like to think like that. I felt that defenseless. But it seemed like it was too easy, you know, too easy and so simple. And before that, I had been in so many situations, so many that that went the other way, or where it was, you know, successfully defending or whatever. But then in that one instance, it was like there wasn't nothing I could do. I just felt so helpless, you know.
And it's a total violation. It's happening in your space, in your freaking car.
You're in my shit,
get the fuck out of my car. What are you doing? You're holding a gun to me.
Right. Spanky, this is the coolest place on the internet, bringing the minded individuals together. Hit like, dummies. Thank you, Spanky.
That's right.
Thank
Hit
you,
those like buttons.
Donation. So now it is story time for you. Do you have a story for us?
Yes, I do, actually.
The floor is yours.
So, okay, I lived in New York City for about 12 years. And, you know, for me personally, It was a it was it was what am I trying to say? It kept my childhood going for the period of time I was there. But anyway, I got into carrying this on me. I was doing Kali, I was doing martial arts. I was good at the time. I was in great shape and, just felt like on top of the world. And I was carrying this with me all the time. This is a 6-inch Vaquero Grande in serration. And now, I think about it now that I was actually carrying this on my person regularly. I carried it kind of appendix, when I had an 8-pack, it nestled between my muscles. but I would carry it there, and I thought it was really cool. And I thought that since I was training in how to use a knife, at least in the Filipino style, that it gave me the right to carry this thing, even though I knew New York City was New York City. And in those days, this is the early 2000s.
Okay.
It wasn't as, it's always been strict, but right now I guess it's like even more strict.
Right.
But the point is, I knew that this was not something I should carry, but I had all these things in mind to justify it.
Yeah.
So I went to a party. I lived in this very hip neighborhood called Williamsburg, in Brooklyn, and I went to a party, and I was with a girlfriend there, and she got sick and went home early, and I was like, I'm hanging out here. This is Jordan's place, man. And whatever the reason was, I decided to hang out there, and I proceeded to drink a lot of whiskey and smoke some weed. And I'm getting all, mellow and cool. And then someone's like, the cops are here. And I was like, I didn't stop to think like, wait a second, you're an adult. You're allowed to do everything, like you're allowed to drink. You're allowed to be at a party. I launched into high school mode, and I bolted. I just took off. And I ran out, and it was an old like loft building, like an industrial building that they turned into lofts. I just ran down this anonymous hallway, burst through the door, and found myself outside. But I was in a parking lot, and I was trapped between two buildings. I couldn't open the door back up because it was locked.
So once you went through the door was locked behind you?
Yes. And I was outside in a parking lot, small parking lot. And so it was sandwiched between two buildings. And then on this side is, a 9-foot chain link fence with razor wire, concertina wire. And on the other side, it's like a 20-foot, I don't know how tough, 15-foot wall, all wooden planks. And on the other side, they're digging a foundation for some building. So it's like a pit over here, and over here it's razor wire. And this was, I gotta believe it was before I think I had a cell phone with me, but I didn't have anyone to call or anyone to bust me out of here. So I'm like, what do I do?
Now you're stuck.
Yeah. And I have this knife on me, and this is why I think I ran. It's because I had a knife on me that I knew wasn't cool. I had been smoking weed, which was very illegal at the time, and I got paranoid. Right.
Yeah.
So I ran out. I had my knife, and so that's like, I got to save the knife. And I find myself in this parking lot. And so first I decide, that chain link fence with the concertina wire doesn't look so bad. Let me try that. So I climb up, I get to the chain link fence. I climb over. I'm halfway over this razor wire. This razor wire is nasty. It's got 2 points on each thing, and so I'm going over it, and I don't even realize that I had stuck my knee. Like one of these, they're so sharp. It goes up into my knee, like right under my leg. I don't even feel it. And then I start getting stuck. My clothes everything's getting hung up. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting stuck. So I climb back down, and my leg is now just gushing blood. It's like one of those little nicks that so it's gushing blood in my pants, but I'm already drunk, and I'm like, and so I walk across the parking lot to the wooden wall. And I'm sloshing the whole way because blood is already filling up my shoe. And I don't know how I did this. I'm not like the most athletic guy, but I climbed up the wooden wall, I guess, with the corner of the building.
Because it's in the corner, so like this, you mean?
Yeah. Like here's a brick wall, and here's like a wooden wall, and it's the backside, so I can kind of get up on the supportive 2x4 to get to the next level. I climb over and find myself on the other side, and now I'm like this, and there's like a 20-foot pit behind me where they're digging this foundation, and I'm gushing blood and bleeding, and I'm drunk and uncoordinated, and I have this giant freaking knife sticking into my crotch here up front, and I shimmy my way all the way around the periphery of this foundation and finally get free of this pit. And, you know, I had to walk a mile to get to the subway. Then I got on the subway, just
Still
like,
gushing blood.
yeah,
Still,
yeah,
still bleeding.
bloody footprint all the way, and people just looking at me. But no one cares. It's New York. You can do whatever you want in New York. People look and they're like, "Oh, there's another bloody guy." You know, like,
Another
so
one
I
of
rode
those
home,
guys.
and yeah, but it was this thing that I had on me that I think really like made me want to run, because I knew that if the cops came in, and it was that, you know, it was my mindset, the cops came in and found me with this, I'd be at Rikers. And I don't know if you know what's happening at Rikers right now, but the prisoners run Rikers Island right now.
I
It's
actually
a
heard
fucking
about that.
shit
Yeah.
show there right now.
It's crazy. I did hear about that. I heard that a lot they don't have enough staff, so basically they're just, you know, they don't have nobody watching over them, and that is just asking for trouble.
Terrifying.
But yeah, you were originally carrying it because you'd rather, how's it go? You'd rather be carried by 6 than judged by 12.
Vice versa.
That's why you
Yeah.
Is it vice versa? Or you'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6? Whatever.
Me personally.
Well,
But
that's why you were carrying it, right?
Yeah,
and then you got in a situation and it's like, oh, I don't know about this. Never mind.
yeah, and that was just blind panic. That was me being totally stupid.
Yeah.
And then everything after that was totally stupid response to my original stupidity. So yeah, I got a lot of stories where I've damaged cut myself with knives. This is the one story where I got cut because of a knife, but it wasn't the knife that cut me.
Not the actual knife. K Mason. Also, Mike Emler. And there was one other donation. I'll get to it.
It was the gentleman with the goatee and the shaved
Cue
head.
Cue ball. Thank you guys. I appreciate the donations. You guys are awesome, man. Thank you. Yeah, I've had a lot of injuries, not even just from knives, but just injuries period, but even a lot by knives. So do you have any decent injuries from some of the knives you have? Because I know you know, doing the martial arts and everything.
Yeah,
you know, I guys use trainers and stuff, but I have to imagine there's been something out there that got you.
Oh yeah, I mean, we used trainers, and actually at the place I trained in New York, we did. When I reached a certain level, we would. Thank you, Shane. We did use live bladed machetes, but it was all, you know, it was you know, it was patterns. We weren't just free flowing and sparring with live machetes, but we were doing different things, and every once in a while you get bitten by those, but they got dulled down quickly. But one time, and this is a story I've told before, but one time I lived in this cool loft building in Bushwick, which they now call East Williamsburg, which is just a way to get more money for your apartment. But I was living in this cool place, and my neighbors were having a party, and one of the girls who lived there, I had a mad crush on, and I thought she liked me too. And so, you know, hey, what's up? You know, at the mailbox, hey, how's it going? You know, in the elevator. And but it didn't go much further than that. So they had a party one night, and I was like, sweet. And I go over there, and we're talking. And the man who lived there is like, hey, Bob, check out my sword cane. You like swords, right? I'm like, oh yeah. And so I pull it out, and you know, this is before the party filled in with lots of people, and there was some room. There's a big open space. I start flipping it around, you know, showing off my Kali moves, and I did something, and buried the blade. It was like a long, slender blade in my calf, about 3 inches.
Ooh.
And no one seemed to notice because I was showing off, and no one gave a damn. But I didn't really catch on to that until I stabbed myself. And I'm like, no one's watching anyway. Why are you stabbing yourself?
Right.
And so I discreetly slip out the door. I just got to go back to my place. I'll be right back.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing to see here.
That was it, man. I walked the 15 feet to my door, went into my bathroom, like pulled the thing out of my leg, and it's just like just gushing blood.
Oh, so you still had it stuck in you when
yeah,
you
I just sort of hobbled out.
I thought maybe it was like it gotcha and nobody's seen it, and it was already pulled
No,
out.
it was
No,
like,
you were still stabbed.
I'll be right
Wow.
back. Yeah, yeah, right. And it was just gushing blood, and it was embarrassing because I thought I was better than that. No one happened to notice because who cares about some dude showing off with a sword cane? But I thought I was cool at the moment. So yeah, I got a bunch of those kind of things.
Maurice says, "What's up, Bob?" I gotta tell you that.
Well, what's up, Maurice? How you doing?
Yeah, I've gotten a bunch of injuries, like even just like little cuts on my hands, and I got commenters all the time. Because either I'll be wearing a band-aid or they'll just see the scars on my hand.
Yeah.
And I always reply back. And I always say this back. I said, well, maybe you would prefer to watch a knife reviewer with office hands that tells you he tests and reviews knives, but doesn't have a cut one on his hand.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. It's like, if I'm really testing the knives I'm testing and doing the stuff I'm doing, I'm going to have some cuts here and there.
Yeah.
It's like common sense would say that, as careful as you can be, things happen.
Yeah. Doesn't work that way with gun reviewers, does it?
No. Well,
Just kidding.
you never know. Somebody mentioned it in here just a little bit ago. Because we were talking about injuries. So I got shot with a potato cannon point blank in the eye.
Holy, that's no
ruptured
joke, man.
Ruptured my eyeball, busted all these bones in my face, just crushed.
Oh my God.
Point blank. I don't know if you know what a potato cannon is.
I know exactly what it is.
Right. So you can imagine, right? It's a damn cannon.
Yeah.
So point blank, like I thought I was dead. I literally thought I was dead. But yeah, I was blind for like between 2 weeks and a month, completely 100% blind, because even though one eyeball got ruptured, the other one showed sympathy, so I couldn't see out of either one. And
shit.
so then after about 2 or 3 weeks, something like that, I started getting my vision back a little bit, but everything was blue. So now all I see is shapes. And they said that was normal though, because the rupture I had in my eyeball, for it to start healing, basically everything would be blue and in shapes, and it was really weird. But it was so excruciating because not being able to see, how they say, like, when you take away one sense, all the other senses enhance. Well, they enhance, but it's painful. It's very painful, like, because like now I can hear everything, but I have such a migraine that it just intensifies the pain. So man, dude, it was so fucked up. Like, it was bad.
Did you think that you had lost your vision permanently, or did the
Yeah,
doctors
for
reassure
sure.
you? Oh,
Hands down. Like, I didn't think I had an eyeball. Like, there was no way it could have survived. Like, what happened and the blast and everything else, there was no possible way I had an eyeball left. Like, when it hit me, I did a backflip. Like, and I didn't get knocked unconscious, but it crushed all the bones in my face. And when I went in there, they were peeling the potato out of my eye. And but yeah, the x-ray it was just shattered completely. Yeah, it was pretty messed up.
We went to a place just this past weekend that was it's like a country farm out here in Virginia, and you go and you pick apples and you pick pumpkins and stuff like that, and they had a potato cannon for apples, and they had a like a freaking junkyard to shoot stuff with. There to shoot at, and we're driving by it in one of those like hay things, hay, and I'm hearing like apple ricocheting like really close to us. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, just because it's an apple doesn't mean it's not gonna like
powerful.
Yeah,
when people that don't know like how these things work, it's a cannon, but the thing that's shooting is an apple or a potato. So when it hits, like, we used to shoot them and they would go so far, the blast, you wouldn't even see them. They just gone.
It's like
they're going so fast.
It's like a CO2 like, it's like a giant CO2 thing, right? That just canister that just launches it with air.
There's different ways to do it. So the way we did it was with an igniter, so like hairspray, something like that, and then you have a spark. So then you like, those grill lighters that you click and it has a spark, before the flame. So you would take like something like that and you'd put it in like PVC, and then you unscrew the back and put the igniter in there, and then you'd spark it, and boom, and it,
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
a small explosion, just like kind of like a firearm, just a cannon.
God.
And yeah, they shoot far, like, and so when you see them, especially up close, like you realize like how powerful they are. And like you were saying, seeing them hit things or hearing them hit things,
Yeah,
it's
hit things,
loud.
they explode.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
jeez, man.
And, and if I would have been far away, it'd have been one thing, but I was point blank. You couldn't get any closer.
So are you friends with that guy anymore, or is he dead to you?
I do know the person still, but I asked him to pull the trigger, so it was my fault. It was my fault.
So like, okay, dude.
Yeah,
sounds
it,
like
man,
it sounds like ridiculousness.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a pure accident. We were trying to get it to go off, and it wouldn't go off for a long time. Like we could not get it to go off. And the way we had the igniter set up, the only way to see it was through the barrel. And so I wanted to see if the igniter wasn't working, trying to fire this thing off for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then I'm like, it's not going off, right? And the second I put my eyeball over it, click, boom.
So let me ask you,
just wet
in that moment,
accelerant.
In the moment you looked down there before it went off, did you think like this might not end well?
Ever since then, like, and I grew up around firearms and all kinds of explosives and things like that, and I knew better at the time. And I've been in other messed up situations that have taught me why gun safety is so important, why all these things are so important. And so that was like the biggest thing my old man said, like, you know better than that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know better than that. But it's just a moment's thing, and
Yep.
so, but yeah, it since then, because of that, like I said, like you couldn't get me to like fake guns. You point a kid will point a fake gun at me, and I'll have PTSD.
Oh man, there's like a lot of moments in life for me. Even sometimes when I get in the car and I'm like, this is an unnecessary trip. I'm always extrapolating out like to the car accident that ends me or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have to get in the car right now. What if I'm thinking back to this moment with regret? And so that's what I was thinking when you're like, oh, let me just check down.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is not probably gonna end well. But it's just crazy because of how many times we clicked it before that. Click, just trying. But I'm guessing, what I think happened was I think we put too much accelerant in there, and it got the sparker wet.
So kind of flooded it out, sort of.
Yeah. But then also tells you how powerful it was when it did go off, because it had, so much in there. Because it's not a liquid, it's the air, right? So like kind of like hairspray, right? It's the air from the container you're putting it in, or whatever. If you're using butane or whatever you're using, it's it's a gas. So you don't want it to be liquid.
Kind of like how a silo can go up just from all the particulate that's atomized in the air from like corn or whatever the hell's in there.
Yeah. I like turns into a gas or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it was definitely crazy. I see we have about 8 more minutes to go.
Right.
I see Shane says frozen paintballs bad idea. Slingshots are the old school paintball. I've had some fun with some slingshots.
I love slingshots.
My 6th grade science project: how angels affect potatoes. Shot from cannon. Oh yeah. Class 3 arms are the best.
Class 3. So that's what that is, right? A homemade potato cannon.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Had a couple explode the combustion chamber, so started using steel. Are you stupid? Yes, certainly we are. I actually had the other day, I was at a birthday and I didn't know, but somebody lit off an explosive. Right. I thought they flicked a cigarette. I didn't know that they threw something, lit. And so I'm standing there, right? And I not even paying attention. I literally thought it was just a cigarette. Then all of a sudden, boo! And I felt like somebody just went and just smacked me in the face, like, because it like hit me in the face. The concussion or whatever you call it, the aftershock. But yeah, it literally, like, it felt like I just got hit in the face with like like glass, I guess.
So how did you react, not knowing that that was coming, but then hearing the noise and
Just
feeling
jump.
the impact?
Yeah, I think just like really quick, because I knew, because I've been around it my whole life, so I know instantly right afterwards what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
My uncles used to mess with me doing that shit, and not like little firecrackers. I'm talking about like quarter, halves, full sticks,
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Let's see
and
you dance.
this was probably a half stick or something.
Wait, a
but
half stick of dynamite?
yeah, for
Holy
sure.
shit.
Yeah. And it was a good distance away, but not very far. Like I'd say 50 feet.
Right.
But that's still so close that you feel it. Even
Yeah.
your chest, like especially because the scare is so much when you don't know what's going to happen. So your heart stops for a second. It's like bam, you don't, like I said, it felt like glass hit me in the face.
Man.
Good times. We would blow up old stumps. Jared, how the fuck are you so purdy? I don't know, because that same spot, what's crazy is where I got shot, I also was hit by a bottle.
Oh.
And my eyebrow got broken off my face, whatever you want to call it, and was like hanging. I have a scar.
My God.
I have a scar there from it, and super glued it back on. That was at a
Yeah.
party.
Well, super glue's the way to go. That's what it was made for originally.
Yeah.
You Jared, I've mentioned this before. You look like young Harrison Ford.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, man,
Thank you.
that is a
Thank
compliment.
you.
Well, someone just said good looking, and I was talking to my wife before. I'm going on a podcast. It's Jared Neeves. She's like, who's that? I'm like, the one who looks like Harrison Ford. She's like, can I come on? I'm like, no, he's mine.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Definitely. I've gotten a lot from people that hear my voice, and then they see my face for the first time. They all think, and I don't know why, but they all think I'm an old man, like a really old man. So then when they see me,
funny, man.
yeah. So when they see me, they're like, the hell? Like, what's going on? And they always leave me a comment. I could have swore you were an old man. He's like, I've listened to you for a long time, and I thought you were an old man this whole time.
Must have been all my references to Glenn Miller and World War II.
right. All my Nam stories.
Yeah.
Bob, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure.
This was such a great time. Everybody, go and follow Bob Demarco over at the Knife Junkie podcast. Could somebody throw in a link, please? I'd really appreciate it, just so whoever hasn't went over there and followed, they can do that right away.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Mike Emler is going live right after this. If you guys want to jump over there right after this. Bob, once again, thank you so much, man.
Jared, thank you for having me on. I love what you do, and you're one of my favorite knife channels. Oh, and here's a quick note. I watch you probably daily because during my work day, I have things that I have to render, on the computer or upload, and that takes time. But I still have to be there, chugging along. I'm like, all right, let's see. Let's see what his favorite, favorite bearing action is. Yeah, I love your videos. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right, guys. Love you guys. Peace.